Well, hey, it's Alex Keller.
And I'm Mike Hutter.
And this is, as usual, the Filmtastic Voyage.
The Filmtastic Voyage, starring Alex Keller.
That's me.
And Mike Harder.
I feel like I should come out of a curtain. Or like, you know how like that Robin comes out of like a fucking like drum in the first cover of his appearance, where it's like I need to in the Boy Wonder. He like jumps out of like a fucking like hula hoop.
It's a fucking variety show.
Yeah, we should do that. Just get a bunch of hula hoops with like tissue paper, and we'll just burst out of them.
Oh man.
For the film podcast, of course, not the audio. That doesn't make sense.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, we could just for our own amusement for the audio podcast. I don't know.
We're not taping right now, are we? This is just our own chatter.
No, let's tape it. Whatever. Fuck it.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody, you got a little extra something special there. Welcome to the Filmtastic Voyage. It's that time of the week again, Wednesday, where everybody
gross.
You know, Wednesday's just that day where everybody's just sort of, they need a pick-me-up, you know? They need a little bit of boost, all right? Boost your system, all right? There, you got to boost those numbers up. So, you know, it's time to have some fun here at the Filmtastic Voyage, huh? Is that right,
not
Alex?
like usual.
Not like usual.
We're changing things up this time. We're having some fun.
Yeah. Yeah, we're, for the first time ever, we're having fun.
Yep.
Here on the Filmtastic Voyage. So Alex, what's new, man? What's new with you since our last episode?
Oh, nothing much. There was a lot of fun casting news going on.
Really? What kind of casting news?
Well, this is kind of old news, but it was worth finding. So you hear about Alec Baldwin in the Joker movie?
Oh yeah.
I always thought that was funny. So if you didn't follow the news, everyone, what happened was like 2 weeks ago, Alec Baldwin's like, I'm in the Joker movie as Thomas Wayne. Everyone's like, hey, cool. And then 2 days later, he's like, fuck that movie. I'm not in the Joker movie anymore.
Oh, I didn't know that.
What?
He bailed on it?
Yeah, you didn't hear about that?
No, I heard about him being in it.
Oh, no, literally 2 days later, he's like, I'm not involved in that project. Fuck it.
I am so curious how they do things over at WB, or specifically WBDC, because it just seems like you're like a bassist trying to join Guns N' Roses, and then you like, you know, you audition, then you get the part, and then like you're there for 2 weeks, and you're just like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I can't say. All I know is that, yeah, he was like, I'm on the project, and like later he was asking on Twitter, and he was like, no, I'm not involved with that anymore. Anyone could play this character, or something like that.
Well, here's the thing. Why is Thomas Wayne in a Joker movie, everybody? Why is Thomas Wayne in a Joker movie? That's what I want to know. If it's anything other than Thomas Wayne is just in the background somewhere, and here's Joker as a kid, even then I would hate it. I wouldn't like it.
I don't know what's going on, honestly.
Are they going with the whole Jack Napier thing where it's like the Joker killed Bruce Wayne's parents? I don't get it.
The thing about that Joker movie is like every time they announce a piece of like casting news or production news, like they got this costume designer, they got this other person, this DP. I'm like I like all these names, like everyone who's involved in this movie, but like what is it? You know?
I don't know.
Like so, I hope I wouldn't call high hopes, but I have optimism about this film. I hope it's good.
Here's the thing. When I picture Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, there's a very specific Joker I think he would do really well as, and that's the Dark Knight Returns Joker. Are you familiar, Alex?
Oh, are you asking me if I'm familiar with the Dark Knight Returns?
But it's like he's a
little bulkier, stockier.
He's bulkier. He's older. I could picture that. And Joaquin Phoenix, I mean, he's a little bit long in the tooth, right? He's a seasoned human being.
Joker's always a little older.
Joker, no.
Sometimes, actually. Well, he's never that young though. He's always at least in his mid-30s.
He's sort of supposed to match the age of Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
Traditionally, right?
Well, basically, so what you're saying is you want this Joker to wear lipstick and not have permanent red face.
Yes.
Because the Dark Knight Returns Joker,
right? That was
just puts on lipstick for the fun of it.
Yeah.
And other Jokers, have permanent red lips.
Which I think makes a lot more sense.
To have permanent red lips?
No, to not have the permanent red lips.
I think it makes more sense to have the permanent red lips. Well, it doesn't matter.
Why?
He's a fucking... He got skin bleached or something. His hair's green. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Like, lip skin's different than human skin or regular skin or whatever. I don't give a shit. It's fucking magic.
It's fucking magic. Well, okay, so, Alex, if you were to make a Joker movie where... Let's say we have Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker and we have Alec Baldwin as Thomas Wayne still. What is the best case scenario for that movie for you? How would you want to see that play out?
So, Joaquin Phoenix shoots Thomas Wayne in an alleyway, and he says, "Do you ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?"
Right.
And then
the rest of the movie,
Michael Keaton shows up and drops him off a building.
Right. The rest of the movie is just
it's a shot-for-shot remake of Batman '89.
I would love a very sassy Alec Baldwin, Thomas Wayne, traveling from the past to the future where he does get shot. But like it's somehow like a weird thing like Flashpoint or something where like Thomas Wayne finds out about his own death and finds out about Bruce Wayne becoming Batman. And so then he gets zapped to the future from Flash. And then Thomas Wayne is like, you know what? Little Brucey's just not getting rid of these villains. So I'm going to do it. So then what it is Alec Baldwin's sassy Thomas Wayne going around and putting these villains in their place.
I see. Well, did you hear the rumor that he was going to be playing a Donald Trump-esque Thomas Wayne?
Ew. No.
Well, that was the rumor.
That's distasteful.
I can see it being a thing, though. I mean, like, I think it's distasteful because Batman should have good parents.
Right.
But I can see it working. Like, it makes sense that, like, you have this tycoon character who is a lot like a modern-day real-life tycoon.
Yeah.
And, so you have a lot of parallels. I think it would work, but, like, it's just sort of, you'd like Thomas Wayne to be like the Batman Begins version where it's like, you run my business, I'm a doctor, I'm a nice guy. Like, you make him the ultimate save the cat character. And then that's how you can empathize with the loss.
Right.
Or sympathize, or whichever word.
Both. Empathize, sympathize, Yeah. Interesting. Well, Alec Baldwin, hey, best of luck.
And then the other bit of interesting news to me, this is I don't want to go too deep into casting news because they can make a whole podcast about that, but a certain Star Wars Episode 9 is getting 2/3 of like the nerd trinity in their casting. They've just cast Mary from Lord of the Rings. Dominic Monaghan.
Oh, from Merry & Pippin?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's in there. And then in a, quote, key role, they got Doctor Who himself, Matt Smith.
No way.
Yeah, you didn't see any of this? They got fucking, is it the 12th Doctor? 11th Doctor?
I don't know. I think maybe that's not a great choice.
Matt Smith's great. What are you talking about?
It's just maybe too recognizable of a
but then fucking Woody Harrelson's good and Solo.
Yeah.
Han Solo.
Okay.
And you got Emilia Clarke. And, like, you got all these big name actors. I mean, I'm sure it'll be like a background character in the same way that like Laura Dern was.
Uh-huh.
Like it's a key role, but not like a main key role, I suppose.
I feel like
Or maybe he'll have a mask on. Maybe it'll be a bounty hunter. I don't know.
Episode 9, I feel like by the time the movie's over, my face is going to be fucked. Like
in a good way? What do you mean?
I don't know if it's in a good way or not. I feel like they're going to be like, hey guys, there wasn't enough going on in episode 8. So for episode 9, we're just like balls to the wall, like just blasting you with as much Star Wars. Like it's just going to be overdone, I guess.
I prefer my Star Wars more balls to the wall than not, I suppose.
Well, and I think if you have a movie that's not enough, then it's a good move to have the next movie be maybe arguably too much.
Well,
I think that's good
because like you can't do your sort of slower paced episode 4 or 5 thing anymore because it's like we got to finish this now.
Yeah.
So you might as well go balls to the walls for your trilogy under there.
Speaking of which, did you see did you keep up with Plinkett?
No, I don't want to watch that.
You heard about it?
Oh, I know.
It's the Plinkett review of episode 8. I watched it, and it's actually not as scathing as I was fearful of.
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's fine. Yeah. I just don't. Well, I haven't watched other media in a while. I kind of just sort of. It's one of those things. Just like they haven't gotten worse. I just kind of gotten used to their thing and just doesn't interest me anymore. And like in the same way, I stopped watching like Archer. It's like I get it. Yeah. I just sort of don't want to. I just don't care anymore.
Well, and there's something to be said about like a lot of time with movie review channels and stuff.
Well, they're also movie review comedy channels, so they're like snarky on purpose.
They're very it's almost like if I like a movie, I don't want to watch that review, right? Because it's like I don't want to just watch this thing where someone's shitting all over this movie. Yeah, so no, I get that.
It's like they're fine at what they do. I don't need snark anymore.
Yeah, I mean it's like if someone loves Justice League, maybe they won't listen to us because.
Well, I thought we agreed that Justice League was just fine.
Oh yeah, no, Batman v Superman, I guess. Anyways. Same point. If someone really loves Assassin's Creed,
we're gonna assass it.
We're gonna
give it the sass.
Assass the shit out of it. Yeah, give it a sass.
I was just thinking about video game adaptations and why Assassin's Creed fails is because, well, not why it fails, but I think I've told you I hate that present day storyline in Assassin's Creed in the games, the movies. I hate it.
Well, being someone that has never played the game, I was really confused to what the premise was for the movie. And I guess what the premise is for the game, I don't understand.
Well, it's just Occam's razor, right?
Right.
It's just the opposite of that.
Oh.
It's just let's take this thing that doesn't need to be complicated, make it woefully complicated. It's like, hey, we got assassins in the past, and they're killing Templars, and there's sort of like secret power struggle behind the scenes of history. Cool, but let's also involve ancient aliens and also being able to like time travel via memories and this evil modern day organization. It's like you had like everything you needed, and then you add like 60% fluff. Just cut that out, and there you go.
And then you have Michael Fassbender going crazy for no reason. You remember in the middle of the movie, he just like loses his mind?
Kinda. For
like one scene, basically. Anyways.
I just remember my favorite part in that movie where he's like, I'm hungry, and then Marion Cotillard takes him to a random room where they have more exposition, and then at the end he's like, I'm hungry. And then they go to the kitchen. It's like, what the fuck? It's almost like they realized they needed a scene in there.
Yeah.
And so they had to connect it. What a mess.
I mean, that happens in real life, though, right?
No, it doesn't.
No
one says I'm hungry and then goes into a different room, and then it carries on a completely different conversation, and then at the end goes like, oh, right, I'm still hungry.
It's just a slice of life. It's human reaction. Anyways, if we're talking video game movies, I think we won't be seeing any for a while. Probably, right?
No, there's stuff happening.
Is there stuff? Oh, yeah, there's a Super Mario movie coming out by Illumination.
Yeah, there's that. We got Detective Pikachu. Got Sonic the Hedgehog.
So, Detective Pikachu, who's doing that?
Who's directing it? Who is Pikachu?
Is that an animation?
No, it's live action. Live action animation hybrid.
The
starring
fuck?
Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu. I'm not making this up.
Does he say his own name?
Oh, no, he talks. This is based off of a 3DS game where Pikachu is just an English or Japanese speaking fucking gumshoe solving crimes, and he's a Pikachu with a hat.
This is like the Max Landis scripted movie, right? Or something?
Did he write that? I don't know. It's just a movie. It's coming out. Detective Pikachu coming out. And then
That's-
Sonic the Hedgehog's voiced by Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz. And it's like he's co-starring with
James Marsden and Jim Carrey as live action Dr. Robotnik.
I could picture him possibly doing that.
As long as his mustache is as wide as his shoulders, that's all I care about.
If they need to put him in like a fat suit, basically.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. Here's the thing: Jim Carrey, as of late, I don't know if he still has wackiness in him, but hey, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. I heard he's really good in some movie that came out recently.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know if it was a wacky movie though.
And I remember seeing a trailer for it, and it was more like
Truman Showy, sort of,
not
like serious, or
I mean, more serious, definitely. Not wacky, not like Mr. Poopy Penguins or whatever.
Oh yeah, I mean he was in Kick-Ass 2, which everyone forgot about.
Right, because he like right before they released it, he's like, "Hey, this movie sucks,"
Yeah,
or whatever. He said the movie was too violent.
Yeah.
After they handed him the paycheck.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, do you know what this episode is, Mike?
This is episode 104.
Yeah, and that means it's if you're keeping track, it's the 2-year anniversary.
This is 2 years right now?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Right now. If you're, because 52 weeks times 2 is 104 weeks.
Happy
104 episodes.
second anniversary. Alex, what did you get for me?
Contempt. Nothing, Mike. You're great. I don't know.
Let's see. Huh.
I don't know. I mean,
I took a lift back to the apartment just today, and this guy handed me a coin that said, "Where will you be for eternity?" And then you flip it over, and it says Jesus Christ.
Wait, so you'll be Jesus Christ for eternity?
I don't know, something. What I'm saying is, I'll take that coin and give it to you for our 2-year anniversary. So
no,
you
cool.
can have my Jesus coin.
No, you keep your Jesus coin.
Okay. Just saying, if you want it, it's there, Alex.
So, Mike, I haven't seen like any goddamn movies. Have you?
Oh well.
Because if you haven't, I had an idea.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll be forthright in telling you that I have not seen a lick of anything. Here's the thing. Theaters right now, everybody, it's getting into down season. All right, we're on a downswing right now.
I was looking at the calendar for pretty much the entire month of September, minus The Predator. I ain't got nothing I want to see.
There's nothing.
And then in October you got you're getting the early Oscar movies, and then Venom, I guess.
And well, then there's also Bad Times at the El Dorado,
El Royale.
El Royale, yeah, El Dorado.
Bad Time at the Doritos.
Bad Time at the Doritos. No, I really want to see that though.
I saw like
good.
a 15-second commercial and like, huh, and then it was on YouTube and I skipped it. I should probably watch the whole trailer. It looked interesting though.
Chris Hemsworth as the villain.
Is he the villain?
Yes.
I see him without a shirt in the posters.
Yes. I want to see that.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I'll see. That's one of the. I guess I'll see if the reviews are good. I suppose. Or if it has a high percentage of me enjoying it.
So yeah, what's your idea there, Alex?
Well, so I don't know if you've been around the social media or the Facebooks ever, but there's this thing going around like wildfire on the Facebooks where people have been going around and doing this challenge where every day they have to post one of their top 10 most impactful movies. Have you seen this?
Yeah. Yes, I have.
And I see you roll your eyes like you...
No. I think it's a great idea. I think, you know what I think it is? I think it's a great conversation piece.
That's exactly what I brought up.
Exactly. And I'm glad we were, like, if we're thinking about doing that now, that's great. But for Facebook, it's fucking annoying.
I like it because it's nice to see people's options. Although, most people have the same options and I'm going to be pretty much no different. And I should, maybe I should have called ahead so you could make a list, I guess. But
I can think it up off the top of my head. It's actually better.
Yeah.
I think it's funny that probably 20 of my friends would be like, well, Pulp Fiction for number 5. Yeah. And then they all talk about Pulp Fiction. Anyways, go ahead.
So I was thinking for our 2-year anniversary, why don't we talk about the movies that impacted us the most? Because we haven't seen anything because September's boring.
Okay. Now Now, is there a big gap between movies that influence you the most and movies that are just like your faves?
I think there's a difference because I think there's a solid difference between a movie that impacts you either as an artist or as a filmmaker or as a film watcher or just a person in general that have like impacts on your life, and there's movies that you just enjoy a lot.
Gotcha.
For example, and I'll start like right now, like then this is not in any particular order, but like for example, Kill Bill Volume 1 changed my life. But it's not my favorite Tarantino movie, and it wouldn't be on my top 10.
Right.
Are you writing stuff down?
What I'm going to do is I'm going to keep track of this, Alex.
Okay.
So that way...
Like, I made a list for me, but then my list eventually just became, like, my top 25 movies because it was super hard to nail down. Because some movies also, I found that some movies fill the same role as other movies because they all came out around the same time for me. Well, anyway. So Kill Bill Volume 1, for example, introduced me to, like, R-rated violence, to like gore and stuff. And before then I was like, ew, blood. And then that movie I was like, no, I can handle this. This is all right. So, and I was like 14.
Yeah.
You know, before then I was like, I'm so squeamish.
I'm scared.
Yeah, I'm so scared. And then I was like, oh no, R-rated violence is totally fine, if not even cool. So that like changed me. That was my first Tarantino movie. So I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is a style of filmmaking I've never seen before with the chapters and like the non-linearity and the use of music and like the use of like random anime sections and random black and white and all that fucking shit. And I was like, my whole mind was exploded. And I was like, so it's like, and I was just kind of generally speaking, I think one of just sort of in like the first 10 R-rated movies I've ever seen, maybe. I started watching R-rated movies when I was around 12, I guess, more consistently, but there wasn't like a steady stream of R-rated stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, usually when you get to high school, that's when like the R gates open.
Yeah, and
right?
even then, it was mostly like Euro Trip.
Yeah,
those kind of a scary movie and those kind of movies.
Yeah,
and it wasn't like
soft R's.
Yeah, it was more R-rated comedy and less like real art movies, or if you can call it art movies. Tarantino always straddles that line. It's hard to say what his deal is when it comes to like, is he an art movie? Is he a blockbuster popular movie,
right?
Anyways, but like that movie has had a huge impact on me, and like it doesn't influence necessarily like my filmmaking style or whatever, or my artistic eye or whatever the fuck. But it it really opened my eyes.
Interesting.
So that's one.
All right, Kill Bill Volume 1.
Volume 1.
That's your first pick.
Volume 2, I hadn't seen what came out shortly after I watched it, and it wasn't. I was like, this is nearly as violent or actiony, and then like because I didn't really know what Tarantino's dialogue style was, so I liked it, but not as much. And now I appreciate it a lot more as growing up. Like second, third time watching it, like, oh, this is still really great. It's just sort of not like because you see one movie and you think surely the next one will be similar, but it's not. And
most people prefer Volume 1. I definitely both those movies can't really exist without the other for sure, right? Mm-hmm. When I saw them long after they had come out, or not long after, but maybe a year or two or something.
I should watch that movie again. It's been so long.
Yeah, they were home watches for me, but for me, I actually, because I watched the Volume 1, then I watched Volume 2, and for me, I actually liked Volume 2 a little bit more. And everybody's like, why? That's so dumb. There's
Mike, you're so stupid.
Mike, you're so stupid.
Kitten mittens.
I just between the two, I was like, okay, the first one is like I get it. It's all the violence and the glitz and the glam and the, but the second one, I just thought it was such a bold move to be like, you know what, this is all plot, and then they have that ending monologue where Bill's talking about Superman, and I'm just like, wow, I never really thought of that. Clark Kent and Superman, and like talking about how Clark Kent is his disguise and all this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah,
it was. I liked it, but yeah.
Yeah, and we also for the record, we don't have to go through 10 movies if we just name them till we run out of time.
Yeah, definitely.
Or we find something else to talk about.
So I'm just gonna I'm hanging on this edge of my seat here or whatever
A little leaned back.
whatever the the figure of speech is, right? I'm flying by the
seat of your pants.
Seat of my pants. That's what I'm trying to say.
You're using your own idiom. So.
Let's see. Influential movie number 1, Memento.
Hmm.
And that is because that is the first movie I saw that was like, hey, let's do like non-linear storytelling, and let's really play with the format and the style and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
The whole like, just kind of like not even giving a shit what anybody thinks. We're just gonna have like one timeline going forward and one going backwards, and then they meet in the middle, and everybody's head explodes. I just thought, damn, like, how did no one do this before now?
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like that movie is amazing. It's that's a lot about a lot of people's first like exposure to sort of non-traditional movies and how you can tell stories in a way that isn't Act 1, Act 2, Act 3.
Well, and really, if you follow kind of like this through line of what Nolan was doing in his early career,
and also I would include both Nolans because it's written by Jonathan Nolan.
Right,
so.
The Nolans, yeah. I mean, Memento kind of like set the framework for Batman Begins, which I think is like still like maybe the most artsy superhero movie. Maybe that between that and like Dark Knight, I don't know, but.
Well, it depends on what you mean by artsy.
I guess what I mean is like to consider something a film instead of like a popcorn flick.
Oh, yeah. Well, I would say Batman Begins is still in the realm of movie, whereas Dark Knight's in the realm of film. And on that spectrum, I would say. Like, I love Batman Begins a lot, but I wouldn't call it like a film.
But, well, the thing is, like with Batman Begins, it's like they carry over that non-linear storytelling, which is like, damn, like... Yeah. This is so... What you wouldn't do for a superhero movie, but then it reaches a point maybe halfway through, like once he puts on the costume and all that, that's when it sort of just turns into a movie.
I don't think that's that non-traditional though. Having flashbacks interwoven with your narrative isn't revolutionary, but isn't like unusual. I would say like when I saw The Dark Knight, I wasn't like, or not sorry, Batman Begins, I wasn't like, whoa, what are they doing with the timeline? It's like I feel like I've seen it before.
Well,
like occasionally they'll flashback to something we've already seen. They'll recontextualize everything, and then you'll keep going.
I mean, I understand what you like. What I'm saying, I guess, yeah. With that, I agree. It wasn't like a revolutionary way of doing it, but I would say specifically for superhero movies, you know, like with okay, I'll give you an example. Like with flashbacks in the other Batman movies, before that, it was always like Bruce Wayne being like, "Oh yeah, when I was a kid," and then. And you know.
Well, that's the sort of the Hollywood flashback method, really.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, Memento. Like I think, especially for like, you know, like college students that are like just trying to get into like film and stuff like that. I think that is definitely something on the curriculum to watch. Is something like Memento, right? Mm-hmm. And plus, you know, one of the few Guy Pearce vehicles that is notable, unfortunately.
Hey, he's in the Hurt Locker. He's in that movie.
5 seconds.
He's in that movie Lockout that got sued for being a literal ripoff of Escape from New York.
Oh, never heard of it.
Oh,
Lockout
or something like that.
Huh? He was in L.A. Confidential. That wasn't bad.
Yeah, he's in stuff. Wasn't he something? Oh, Iron Man 3.
Oh, right. Iron Man 3.
He always pops up. Everyone loves the guy. Guy Pearce is great. Yeah. So these ones are tricky because they all kind of serve the same purpose, but they all kind of land around the same time. So I'm just going to group them together. And one of them obviously has more appeal than other, but in terms of just like what they influence in terms of sort of movies for me, I'll just include them all together. So that is Toy Story, Jurassic Park, and Star Wars.
How do you wait? You're counting those all as one movie?
I'm counting them all together in terms of like they're all four different movies, but they all kind of landed around the same time, and they all
these
kind of
count as
accomplished
choices,
similar
right?
punches, I guess. Okay. Because what they did is they introduced they were like the big hey man, 3D visual effects, and also Star Wars just had general visual effects. Star Wars is like the first movie I remember being really wowed by like ever. Like I saw that when I was 4, and that movie blew my little kid brain into a million pieces. And like I'm sure like I don't have to go into specifics because there's 1,000 articles written about like because the hero's journey is super relatable and blah 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 blah.
Star Wars: A New Hope specifically, I think is a movie that, first of all, it needs to be the first Star Wars movie you see.
Yeah.
And you need to see it as a kid.
Mm-hmm. If you really want to get the maximum amount of impact.
Right.
Like there are people, I know a lot of people who didn't see Star Wars till like in high school or till they were adults, and they're like, these are some good damn movies, you know. But
well, it's interesting you say that because I feel like most people I know that see those as adults are like kind of cynics about it. They're kind of like, eh.
Well, it's also that case of like I've seen all the rip-offs and all the influences that like the original is not nearly as groundbreaking because I know what it leads to, and sometimes and occasionally there's that thing where what it leads to is better, but because it's newer, it's not nearly as revered, you know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that in the case of Star Wars, but like you have lots of stuff like that, where you have movies that are the genesis of sort of a way of doing things, and then other movies beat them, but they're never on the same level just because they weren't original. Or, you know, they didn't originate. But I can't think of any specific examples. Either way, I don't think Star Wars is really in that camp. I mean, it is a little... it's not in that camp because I don't think anything has ever really beat Star Wars at its own game in terms of what Episode 4 accomplishes, and being a story that's universal, and being a visual effects powerhouse most of the time, not including the special edition. And, you know, sort of having a unique and interesting universe that you want to live in and all that kind of stuff. And I think, like, movies try to be Star Wars, but most of them... never really get there, or they're Star Wars plus something else, you know, which
Star Wars plus Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, maybe not, but yeah, I don't know, but like, so like, there's that, and like, you know, the hero's journey influences all that stuff, but like, it was the big, you know, mid '90s through CG revolution that like took me like little kid me was like I want to be a paleontologist or whatever, and then I saw like, you know, that was also because I saw Jurassic Park, but then like Toy Story came out around that time, and then I was old enough to realize that like, oh shit, these dinosaurs are fucking made of computers, and then after that it's like, that's it, this is what I'm doing. So from like the ages of 6 onward, I've never not wanted to be a CG animator. Now I am.
Yeah. So. Well, that's... You know, I know you listed 3 movies there, but we'll just count that as one.
It's one.
I mean, there's no hard rule here.
Like, if I did it on the full Facebook thing, it would be 3 individual movies over 3 days or whatever. But because, like I said, they all accomplish the same goal, I want to bring up Jurassic Park and then bring up Star Wars and then bring up Toy Story and then repeat my whole thing, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's... I mean, I totally agree. I mean, those 3 movies are very, like... I mean, that's, like... 3 really influential movies. I mean, if we're talking about 90s movies that were made we're always talking about how like 80s movies culture, it was a lot bigger than 90s movies culture, but I mean, Toy Story and Jurassic Park, I think, I mean, damn.
I know.
They just blew up. I mean, talk about game-changing movies. I mean, Jesus Christ. After Toy Story was made, every studio wanted to start their own CG animation department, right? And they did, for better or for worse.
Really, only DreamWorks did. I can't think of another one that.
Well, I mean, I guess what I mean is like, okay, so then there's DreamWorks, and then there was probably Blue Sky or Sony. You know, much later on, then Illumination. I guess what I'm saying is like, there's it started Toy Story started this whole other way of
it changed the way you make movies,
doing things. Yeah.
Do you know that Joss Whedon rewrote part of Toy Story?
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. That movie is a fascinating look. It has so much production issues. And not just not really technological, more just story issues.
Well, I know that like because Jeffrey Katzenberg was originally attached to it, right? And then didn't he branch off because of it or something?
I don't remember the specifics. I just remember...
And I don't know if this is connected to him. Probably not. But like Woody was originally just like a fucking... like asshole,
he was
right?
kind of just a dick, yeah.
Yeah, like 2 times as worse as they ended up making him.
I mean, but like he's all in the movie. It worked because he's like an asshole, but like, you know, he's like because he's scared, man.
Right. Yeah.
And like over the course of the movie, he becomes not an asshole.
Yeah.
Even though he's not like he still is it's friendly, but he's like overbearing still, you know.
Yeah.
So it's different. You know, they made a good character.
I mean, he's much better, and you know, honestly, casting Tom Hanks to play that voice was, I don't know if another actor would have made it so perfect.
I think you could have gotten. You could. I mean, like Tom Hanks makes it his own role, but like I think you might have been able. It's hard to say. It's one of those hypotheticals. It's like I think you could have made it work, but it would have been different.
Yeah. I always thought like with Buzz Lightyear, they could have switched Tim Allen out with George Clooney, and no one would have noticed.
Oh man. Well, George Clooney wasn't a thing in '95.
No, he wasn't. It's always weird to think that Tim Allen is Buzz Lightyear because, like, especially around like 2010, Toy Story 3, it's like, well, hey guys, what happened to Tim Allen?
Well, he's on that fucking show.
Well, now he's on that.
He was on that show.
On that
no,
show.
well, the show's coming back.
Oh, is it coming
back?
back?
Yeah, it got renewed by Fox or something.
Oh, okay.
Or did it? Because Fox and Disney is a thing now. Like that's one of the things that who knows in the industry. It's like, is this thing still happening?
I think I honestly think the conversion is going to be a very slow.
Well, yeah, it's going to be slow, but it's mostly like from what I understand from like industry people, it's like if you're like pitching stuff, it's like, do we pitch to Fox? Is that
right?
Like, if we do, is it just going to get canned? That kind of stuff.
Well, and there's also Dark Phoenix, X-Men Dark Phoenix, which is like in weird production limbo right now, right?
No, they're still making it. It's being made. Like, what do you mean?
They're still but isn't there not like a release date for it or something?
No, I think it does. I think it's just undergoing reshoots right now.
Oh, okay. And then New Mutants?
Yeah, that got delayed for reshoots.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in production limbo. I think they're not in limbo because of the Fox the Fox Disney deal though. I think they're just being there's some probably behind the scenes turmoil. I don't really know.
Listen, here's what you do, everybody. You have Dark Phoenix be this nice last send off for that X-Men movie universe, and then get rid of all that and reboot it. Hard reboot. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they'll need it since Guardians isn't coming back.
James Gunn's X-Men.
Oh my! Yeah, they're like, you know what? We fired James Gunn from Guardians of the Galaxy because we're so offended. But you know what? We think he'd be really good for X-Men, you guys. Or Fantastic Four. James, if anybody can make Fantastic Four actually interesting, hey, throw James Gunn on it.
Quentin Tarantino.
Ben Grimm's arguing with Reed Richards about why you should tip waitresses and how waitresses live off of tips and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That's Reservoir Dogs. Anyways.
Yeah, I know it is.
Let's see. What is my next pick? You know what? This might be weird, but I'm going to go with the first PG-13 movie that I saw.
Independence Day.
No, actually. Well, no, I saw that before I saw it. Okay, first PG-13 movie that I saw in theaters.
Oh.
In theaters.
I don't even know what mine is. Anybody continue.
And that was the second Austin Powers movie.
Oh,
yeah.
Fun.
And those movies have been played to death, and no one likes them anymore, including me. I
did rewatch the first one recently, and it was...
Was it rough?
It wasn't rough. It was just like... yeah.
Just kind of doesn't
like
hold
I was
up,
going to rewatch
right?
all of them, and then I just sort of like... Like, it's very 90s, and I just didn't feel like watching the rest.
It's...
I think it is... I think it's dated in its type of 90s humor.
Yeah.
But it's mostly still funny.
Well, the interesting thing is, like, Wayne's World holds up a lot better than Austin Powers does, I think. In terms of, Mike Myers joints. Wayne's World I can go back to and be like, oh man, this is still good. You guys, have you seen Wayne's World?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
Oh, okay. Yeah. But yeah, for whatever reason, Austin Powers was like a huge thing, and my friends and I were obsessed with it.
I mean, like, it actually wasn't a huge... The first one wasn't like a huge hit, actually. Like, you think it was, but it wasn't like box office wise, wasn't a smash.
Oh.
Decision, but it was successful.
Because I know the second one...
I think they got more and more successful.
Crazy, yeah.
So
Goldmember was like, this is over. This is over, you guys. I think number 2 is kind of in the sweet spot where it's like, hey, we got Fat Bastard in here. We got what was it, Heather Graham?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Heather Graham was in the second one.
They have that great time travel joke. Just don't think about it too hard. Yes.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, in terms of really, the only reason I brought it up is because it was the first PG-13 movie I saw in theaters.
Is that a big impact on your life?
Maybe not. I don't know.
Well, then it shouldn't be on the list.
Well, I mean, just for the sake of like, it stands out because it was.
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
The first PG-13, but yeah, in terms of like influence, I guess.
Well, it's not like movie milestones.
I guess maybe not.
It's not really movie milestones. I guess it's more like movie impact. But hey, you already said it. It's too late.
Yeah.
It's on your Facebook page. As we speak, it's being uploaded right now. Well,
here's the thing. If I was to actually sit down for a few hours and think about this, the list would change quite a bit. But, I'm just going for it, right? So, yeah. Anyways, Alex, what next?
For me, would have to go to another comedy, a fun little movie that. So I was at a friend's house, and this particular friend's dad had just like a lot of. He was very like looking back on it, was very instrumental in like shaping my movie things because he would just pop on movies, like he'd like, hey kids, tonight we're watching something like a hot. Tonight we're watching Sleepers. Tonight we're watching like this, that, and the other thing. Just older kind of movies that like. I never heard of, and I would sit down and watch them, and not like and those are really great old movies and stuff like that. So sometimes it's good to have someone in your life, if someone's friends, parents, or unfortunately my parents aren't movie buffs, but like someone like that who just like sit down, shut up, we're gonna watch this.
Oh yeah.
And the movie that this fateful movie, which is now one of my top 5 favorite movies of all time, and influenced, I guess, my sense of humor. Is Monty Python, The Holy Grail. That movie had a huge impact on me, obviously, just because it was so fucking funny, and remains to this day so fucking funny. I watched just random clips, like if someone posts a random clip and I just watch it, I just chuckle to myself occasionally.
Yeah.
I remember thinking, like, watching that movie like 10 times, and then realizing it came out in like 1974 or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And then being like, what the fuck? They don't make... Old movies aren't this funny. Wait a second,
Right,
And like having my head exploded a little just because, movies made before like 1990 were great. Like, even though I knew Star Wars was old, I guess. But like,
Right, there's something about old movies that you're like,
Like old movies, they're old, because it didn't look like an old movie because like everyone's wearing like weird costumes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't. The humor wasn't like old timey, like it was just like, oh wow, old movies can be really funny too.
Yeah.
And stuff, and then like so this was obvious before he showed me like something like hot and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I remember really did a number on me.
Good choice. I mean, the first time I tried watching Holy Grail, I actually didn't get through it because I'm like, this is just, I don't get what's going on. Like, why are there people pretending to ride horses and all this other stuff?
That's the joke.
But then I watched it when I was older. I'm like, oh, this.
Like, how old were you when you watched it? I mean,
probably, I don't know, middle school or something. Too young to watch it.
I don't know.
Too young to get it.
I was like 10.
Well, you're ahead of your time there, Alex. Little impatient Mike Harding.
Well, you might have been like, it might be like that weird zone, like when you're young, you accept that the absurdity, but then when you're a little older, you're like, wait a fucking second,
right.
And then you get even older and like, oh, I get it now. That might be like that tween age, where things are a little iffy.
And that's the thing is like you go from being like, man, British comedy is so dry and boring, to then realizing what British comedy is basically and being like, oh, this is like amazing.
Yeah, it also helps that like my family is super sarcastic and dry when their style of humor. And so like it's sort of not hard to make the leap to the British style.
Right, yeah.
So I guess that helps too. Like if you go to one of my family reunions, you can have no idea if someone's bullshitting or if they're telling the truth.
Oh, really?
Like, for example, this summer I was with my family, my extended family. And my aunt's like, I was talking about like Adventures in Infinity War. My aunt's like, oh, I love that movie. I was like, oh, really? Yeah, I thought it was so good. She's like, no, it sucked. I have no idea who anyone is. I'm like, oh man, you said it with such conviction. So that's the kind of thing I'm dealing with all the time.
Yeah. All right. That sounds like quite a fun family
Oh yeah,
family
it's
dynamic.
a blast. I'm not joking. That's not sarcasm. They're great. Anyways, continue.
Yeah. Shit. I just thought of this and then I lost it, and then now
Face Off.
No. Not ew. I mean, Face Off is
No, I know.
fun. Oh, okay. This might be a pretty obvious one, but Clerks.
Oh, well, not to me. I wouldn't have thought of that.
Clerks is the first movie I ever saw where it wasn't this movie that had to be this big, exciting, high budget, whatever, good acting, blah, blah, blah. It's like literally just an hour and a half of these two having these conversations that people would have, but it somehow works. Like, somehow the movie's not boring. It's just like they're talking about like contractors working on the Death Star and I don't know. It's just again, I mean, I think this also falls under the category of like, hey, if you're a college student studying film, like Clerks is probably a great movie to see because like the dialogue, I think it was like 94. It came out in 94.
Something like that, yeah.
And what the 90s is known for, I think, was it was a whole decade where they sort of naturalized dialogue in movies, like Quentin Tarantino for sure, and then also I'd say Kevin Smith.
I would say it's not really naturalized. They kind of naturalized, but they just made it snappy,
Well, they made it snappy, but they also made it so people weren't afraid to
the people meander. People
meander.
Talk about nothing that isn't really plot relevant, but it's character relevant, that kind of stuff.
Right. They can talk about stuff that isn't just exposition or just having to do with the plot or whatever. But it didn't feel like it was out of place. It felt like, okay, this makes sense for this tone of movie, and yeah. So I'd say Clerks, and I'd still say that's like Kevin Smith's best.
Yeah, I would say that too. I mean, like, I know Clerks has like a lot of influence in like You Little Banana things, Little Banana animations.
Oh, right, yeah.
Just a couple guys hanging out.
R.I.P. Am I right?
Yeah, the old banana animation.
Yeah.
I think Clerks is also really good to show like high school students of film because it shows what you can do with minimal budget, no budget, non-actors kind of. And you can still make a successful hits film with just gumption and can do.
Right. Yeah.
And maxing out credit cards for music rights.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering how they got that sweet Alice in Chains song in there. What's with good movies and Alice in Chains music being in them?
Is Alice in Chains not good or what?
No, they're great. I love Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains is one of my favorite bands.
It stands to reason good movie has good music, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. But no, I just remember Last Action Hero had like 30 seconds of an Alice in Chains song.
Was that Man in That Box?
No, it was a song for the soundtrack only. Yeah. And then
like Flash Gordon.
Clerks had Got Me Wrong off the Sap EP.
Now you know.
Check that out. Yeah.
The more you know.
The more you know.
Cool.
All right. Well, that's my next pick.
Okay.
Clerks.
My next one. And this is no in particular. This is in no life order.
Mm-hmm.
I start with Kill Bill. Would have to be. So one day. I'm just gonna start with a story.
Sure.
Because whatever.
Yeah.
I was in high school. I used to hang out I was in the marching band because I'm lame, and I was hanging out in the band room, which is sort of like during lunch because that's the hangout there. Because you can hang out in the cafeteria, or you could hang out in the band room where it's quiet and no one bothers you, and it's like you and 20 other kids who are all friends. Mm-hmm. And there was also, a TV on wheels in there, one of those little TVs on wheels.
Yeah.
And a guy I know who he was a bit of a AV guy, would just bring in his own fucking movies, and we just show movies during lunch. And one day he puts in this movie that I'd never heard about before, and it starts, and it's the most interesting, gripping, funny, surprisingly funny thing I've ever seen in my life, or to that point, and that was Full Metal Jacket.
Oh my God, yeah.
And then I was like, what is this? Like, this is like amazing. What is this? Like, like, because it's like the movie starts with this really impressive tear down, verbal tear down of these soldiers by the late great
right. I
R. Lee Ermey.
Oh yeah.
And then we like slowly over the course of a couple lunches, I saw the whole movie, like the boot camp sequence and the Vietnam sequence and the sniper sequence, and like by the end of it, it's like, holy fucking shit, this is like a fucking amazing fucking movie. And then I use that as a springboard to jump into the rest of the like. Then I remember just going to like Wikipedia. Because I was like 16, going to Wikipedia and looking up like, who's this director, Stanley Kubrick, and like, oh, Stanley Kubrick, and I looked at all his movies like The Shining, 2001, Doctor Strangelove, and Clockwork Orange, all these like classic films that I didn't really know much about, but I knew they were famous movies, and I'm like, holy fucking shit, this one guy did all these, and I watched all of his movies, and Stanley Kubrick is my number one and always will be my number one favorite director of all time now.
I mean, I think objectively speaking, he's probably just the best.
No, that's hard to say, man. Because
it
depends. Because I think in terms of just because also I still submit that Hitchcock was probably the best director just because of he only mostly worked in thrillers, but his mastery over thrillers and editing and how to construct a story so effortlessly, and also because his just general output. It's hard to say who's the best director, but I would say he's definitely in the top 10, maybe. I don't know. There's been a lot of good directors though.
Those two, there will never be anybody, I think, on their scale again.
I doubt that. I think there's lots of Kubrick types out there.
There's Kubrick types, but they're influenced by Kubrick, right?
Well, yeah, but Kubrick's influenced by the other people,
Well, sure. Yeah.
I mean, like, if we have to do the whole, who's the modern day Kubrick? I would say like P.T. Anderson is the modern day Kubrick if you want to do it.
Yeah. I mean, my whole thing is like, if we were just to look at Kubrick's filmography, right? Mm-hmm. If we're just basing his quality of work like across the board, I think that's hard to match. Like, there's a lot of great directors, but I mean, some of them have, there's some swings.
Even
and misses.
Hitchcock has some misses.
Hitchcock has.
There's
some
that
misses,
famous Tarantino interview. He's like at a round table, and he's like, yeah, like Hitchcock went out with a whiff, and that takes like 2 good movies off of your filmography,
right?
Or 2 or 3, like and that's why he's like, I'm only gonna make 10 movies because I can't go out on a whiff. I got 10 good movies in me, or something like that.
Well, that's the thing is like, Nolan, back in his heyday, people were thinking, man, this is like the next. I don't know if they were saying Kubrick, but I mean,
I've heard that comparison. Kubrick is
right.
Nolan. I've heard Fincher. It's mostly directors who are very precise and controlling.
Right, but
tend to get the Kubrick label.
But that's the thing. I mean, Nolan, when Dark Knight Rises and then Interstellar came out, I think it sort of. It knocked him down a peg, I guess what I'm saying.
I think the difference between Kubrick and a lot of directors is that Kubrick explored genres. Uh-huh. He would never do the same genre twice.
It's true.
Whereas a lot of these, like Nolan and Fincher and those kind of guys,
they do the same kind of movie.
They don't do the same kind of movie every time, but they have a very specific sort of feel that they do, and the Kubrick's movies feel very different. But like 2001 is nothing like Doctor Strangelove, which is nothing like Barry Lyndon.
And Doctor Strangelove is a funny movie. It's a funny, punchy movie. Like it's Kubrick being a comedic director, and and watching that and then seeing 2001: Space Odyssey, it's like,
and then jump to Eyes Wide Shut, and you're like, what? And I'm a big fan of Eyes Wide Shut. I know that movie gets.
Haven't seen it.
Oh, that movie doesn't get nearly the praise I think it deserves. It doesn't I don't know. It's like that movie doesn't get shit on, but it doesn't get.
I know people kind of say it's maybe his not his best.
I think Lolita's his worst movie.
Oh, I haven't seen that either. I haven't seen. Was it Barry Lyndon?
Barry Lyndon's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I hear.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And also just generally good.
And I haven't seen Spartacus, but I get the feeling that's like pre.
Spartacus is Kubrick for hire, so it's sort of not quite a Kubrick movie. It's a Kirk Douglas movie where Kubrick is sort of fighting with him over what's going on.
It's like Christopher Nolan's Insomnia.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like it's him directing, and there's bits of him in it, but like for the most part, it's just kind of a movie.
Yeah,
it's not a bad movie, but it's just sort of a movie.
Right.
But like Paths of Glory is a great Kubrick movie. If you're going,
I never even heard of that.
Oh, that's a World War I movie with Kirk Douglas also. It's where Kirk Douglas met Stanley Kubrick. That's where Kubrick developed, I believe it's where he developed his classic one-point perspective tracking style.
Oh, okay.
You know, where he'd like put something on wheels and just track actors through spaces because there's a bunch of trenches and stuff, and he used that throughout his career.
Yeah.
Love that style. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so that movie kind of blew my mind because I had not seen anything like it before.
So I take it that's probably your favorite Kubrick, right? Full Metal. I know that's hard to pick.
I would say yeah. It's been a long time since I've seen it though.
Yeah,
I need to watch them all again.
Mine, Full Metal Jacket. I mean, I love that. Like, my favorite Kubrick movie is probably will always be The Shining, for whatever reason. But I think Full Metal Jacket is the best Vietnam movie. I kind of Apocalypse Now is great. Don't get me wrong. I think the Platoon comparison though, like people are crazy if they think Platoon's better than Full Metal Jacket. I think so. Platoon is like there's there's Full Metal Jacket has all these layers, and then Platoon is sort of just here's the war, and then we're
yeah, but that was
it.
kind of a different kind of movie back then though.
What do you mean?
Well, Platoon was like a movie made by Vietnam vets, and it was a movie that was sort of like you know, like it was like it was one of the first movies that was like this is what it was like to fight in Vietnam, kind of like there were movies like that, but that was the first like really like you know awarded one as far as I am aware because it won the Oscar in 1986.
Did Apocalypse Now not get anything?
It won the Palme d'Or in 1979, but it didn't win Best Picture.
Or it didn't even get nominated or anything?
Oh, I'm sure it was nominated. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it didn't win. It was 79 was Kramer versus Kramer, I believe. Yeah, I know.
Oh, the Academy. Sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, study your Kubrick, everybody. That's another. You know, I mean, all the common theme I think is like for people looking to make films, and this makes sense too. But I mean, for people looking to make films, like a lot of these are films that I would say anybody should watch if you're looking to make films, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
My philosophy is there's never a reason not to watch a movie unless it's like a movie that you know. There, I mean, like for the most part, there are certain movies that are on my no fly list.
Ghosts of Mars. I mean,
Like, well, like there's movies where it's like Salo, or like a Serbian film. Those are on my no fly list. So it's like I'm never gonna watch those.
A Serbian film?
Oh yeah, that movie's famous for.
Oh, is it a movie called a Serbian film?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
I don't want to go into it. Maybe.
Well, if it's
famous
gross,
for lots of things, some involving infants.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
And like Human Centipede, like that kind of stuff,
Ew,
like that.
No,
Yeah,
fuck that.
that kind of movie, like it's like I'll pass. No, thank you.
I just remember, you know, when people are like, "Oh man, you see Human Centipede," I'm like, "What's it about?" Well, you know, they just like stitch a dude's mouth to another person's ass. I'm like,
Pass.
nah.
Like I know everyone talks about how good Irreversible is, but it's like I don't wanna.
Never heard of it.
Oh, there's a lot of things in that movie. Every time I hear about it, it's always like, you know, very violent, very rapey. It's like, no, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Don't want to watch it. And I made the mistake of watching Enter the Void. I'm like, oh, Gaspar Noé, no, thank you. Not again. Not being tricked again.
Right.
Not watching one of his movies.
Or
Except I did watch
Antichrist.
the trailer. That's not. Well, that's a different guy.
That's a different guy.
Yeah, that's Lars von Trier. I did watch the trailer for Gaspar Noé's new movie. Well, it looks pretty wild, and
What's it called?
I don't remember, but it's got Sofia Boutella, the mummy,
Oh, okay.
and she's dancing like in a weird fever dream, and everything's going fucking crazy. And
Ah.
I'm like, maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Right.
Probably not.
Well, speaking of movies that, you know, cause a ruckus, I'm trying to throw curveballs, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of something in my head that could be like, this is something maybe people wouldn't pick.
Well, don't think of it that
And-
way. Think of things that have personal impact on you.
No,
don't
no,
be
no, no.
don't
But,
be a
hold
fucking
on.
hipster.
Hold on. But when I'm thinking about it, this is what I'm thinking about. Because I feel like this movie is the only movie I can think of where it's like, it's scary because it's something that could actually really happen. And that was The Strangers.
Oh.
Yeah, I really like the movie The Strangers. And the reason I do is because it's actually scary. Like, up until watching The Strangers, I feel like every scary movie I've seen was always like a killer clown or like a killer ghost or a, you know, some sort of monster or something, right? Freddy Krueger, Jason, or whatever. But then along comes this movie, The Strangers, and all it is just these people fucking with these other people just because. Because they feel like it. And it's, you know, it's like a home invasion movie, and it just was, you know, I walked away from it being like, man, if someone actually wanted to do that, they could actually be that fucking terrible.
Yep.
And that's a scary movie.
Have you seen Funny Games?
Funny Games? No.
Do you know what funny? Okay. Well, do you like the home invasion genre?
I mean,
I guess
I don't know if I specialize in the home invasion genre, but
well, Funny Games is a Michael Haneke movie, which is a home invasion movie where these two guys invade a home and they, you know, do home invasion type stuff. But the movie is also sort of a comment on, like, the characters start talking to you, the audience. It's like, you like this, don't you? You live for this, you know, and that kind of stuff.
Oh.
And like, it's like, not only is it about that, but it's also sort of it's a deeper meaning about like the audience's relationship to the depiction of violence. And also, I think at one point, like, they're like, you know, the villains are about to lose, and then they rewind the movie. It's like, no, we're not doing that.
Oh.
And stuff. So like, it plays with the film itself. And there's a shot-for-shot American remake too that came out with Naomi Watts.
Oh, okay. A shot-for-shot remake?
Yeah, by Michael Haneke. So he remade his own movie.
Gotcha.
He's an interesting artsy director. Also made Caché, a very good movie.
Huh.
You seen Caché?
No.
That's a weird movie.
I'll write that down as well.
Yes, the yellow ribbon, white ribbon. I think that won the Palme d'Or. What has he been up to? I don't know. Anyways, oh yeah, that was your movie?
The Strangers, yeah.
Right.
That was my next pick.
This is another high school movie, though, and this one I saw it myself because we were in high school. I took a film studies class, and like for the films, most of it was like simple movies, sort of like that had like were really cool though, or at the time, or like really like wow, I never seen that before. Like, we saw like low budget, like your most basic of basics, like with El Mariachi. You know, it's like this is high shot, low shot, like the most basic. That's not on the list though. And we watched like Run Lola Run, which was like a little more refined version of that, which also has some cool stuff with like the 3 repeats and the time and all that stuff. That movie, I rewatched it fairly recently. Not as good as I recall, but still good. Still really cool. Good for students kind of movie.
Yeah.
And then we watched like Sing in the Rain, and then like a bunch of short films, like oh god, what was that one movie?
Nosferatu.
No, it wasn't like it was kind of like we watched like Un Chien Andalou and like some other movie. I can't remember right now. Meshes of the Afternoon. That's it. And that kind of stuff. And all that animation. And then we were like, okay, now take a movie. Just go through Roger Ebert's great movie list. Just choose a movie.
Yeah.
And do a report on it. And so I looked on the list and I'm like,
That's a good assignment.
It is. And so everyone had to choose a movie. And so I just chose a movie that sounded the most interesting to me. And I watched it. And it changed my life.
What was it?
And it was The Seven Samurai.
Oh.
That movie, like, introduced... I had seen foreign films before that. I've seen, like, a good amount of foreign films, like Hero and that kind of stuff. Crouching Tiger was the first foreign film I watched, which was probably way too deep for me at the time, because I was, like, 11 or 12. And I was like, what's going on? I'm really confused. I should rewatch that movie. So, like, I wasn't a stranger to foreign films, but, like, just seeing Kurosawa do his thing. And like, I had never seen a movie that wasn't like Lord of the Rings, where 3.5 hours melted by. And by the end of it, I was like, holy fuck, what the fuck? What happened? Where am I?
Oh, wow.
You know? It's like one of those kind of things. Like, it's just such a good movie. And like, I was like blown away, but like, because it's like a movie that's from 1955, but like the amount of just like modern day stuff it uses, like slow motion, silence, like little things. How it constructs geography effortlessly, because like they're dealing with a whole town. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Like they deal with a whole town, right? But you know where everything is, but you have no idea how. Why you know? You just do. Same thing with Yojimbo, which deals with like one long street, which is really easy in black and white, especially to confuse by. But you never do. You always know where everything is. His ability to sort of film and execute complex geography without you questioning it is amazing. and like that kind of stuff, and like that stuff that you at first you don't pick up on, but you're like wowed by the whole just sort of dramatic experience, and then as you think about it more, you realize this and that is going on. And so, like, we did an analysis on all that stuff, and it was really fun. And that class disappointed me because everyone else in the class didn't care as much as I did.
Oh. I mean, that's funny that no one cared as much as you did.
Not nobody, I'd say, but, like, a lot of the people were like, I watched, like, the half the movie, and then I wouldn't do something, and they came back and watched the second half, and I'm like, what are you doing? You can't do that. Wait a second. And it was also funny because, like, I would say 75% of the class, when we had to do our top 10 movies, as our, like, what's your name? What's your top 10 movies? And pretty much everyone's number one, or like 75% of people number one with The Dark Knight. I'm like, you guys, like The Dark Knight's great,
but yeah, Jesus
like I know
Christ.
it's like high school, and I shouldn't be like all up and tight, all high and mighty about it. But like The Dark Knight's great, but like even back then I had like a thing like you can't
just pick a movie that just came out and
unless you've seen that. My rule. Like I kind of like figured it out a little later, but even back then it was sort of in my mind. It's like you have to watch a movie more than 5 times for it to be your favorite movie. Right. And if you watch that movie, if you've seen The Dark Knight more than 5 times, you're allowed to have it be your favorite movie.
I mean, the funny thing is I saw The Dark Knight 8 times in theaters.
You're allowed to have it be your favorite movie.
Which is insane. And the funny thing is it wasn't even my favorite Batman movie. But like at the time I was working at a movie theater and I had access to the projector. And so I would just have friends come to the theater after hours and we would just watch The Dark Knight until whatever, 3 a.m. or whatever.
Wow. Like, yeah, so, like, it's also because, high schoolers haven't seen that many movies, so I'm not, like, saying they were stupid for it or anything. It's mostly just, like...
But, no, it is annoying, though, right? Like, I mean, because, okay, so, on a similar note, like, when I was taking film classes in college, and I was an animation major, but I was, it was an elective for animation majors, but, you'd be taking these classes with film majors, right? And film majors it was similar where they'd be like, oh, okay, talk about your favorite director on the first day, right? And people would go up there and be like, oh, yeah, I just love Christopher Nolan. I'm like, God damn it.
Come on.
It's because Inception just came out or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on. Like, and even the teacher was like, really? Like,
like, yeah, I understand. Like, I don't know. In college, I probably would have said, like, I don't know what I would have said. Like, the problem with me in college, especially, is, like, I was, like, freshman year in college, like everyone's like, "What's your favorite movie?" And I was like, "I can't say Star Wars. They'll still call me a dork. They'll say I'm stupid. So I have to say Pulp Fiction or something,
right. Well, Tarantino is another. I
don't know if I said
college student staple.
Kubrick would have been my favorite director at that time, though, for sure. Though, so at least I had that.
In most of college, I probably would have said Scorsese.
That's a good choice.
But
too.
but nowadays I wouldn't say that.
On a similar vein, in terms of like uncreative kids being uncreative,
right.
In one of my class in English, we read Catcher in the Rye, which I submit is a good book, because some people say it's not. I'm looking at you.
I'm looking at you, America.
But we had a project where it's like we had to create the soundtrack for the film, right?
Oh.
And so we would like submit like 6 choices, which is really hard when all you like at the time is like Led Zeppelin. It's like so it's like I don't fucking know. So that was a little difficult for me, but like pretty much, and then everyone would go up to the top to the class and they'd play their one song and they gave everyone the little lyrics. And again, maybe 40% of the songs in the class were Boulevard of Broken Dreams, maybe 50.
Kill me.
And so I listened to that song like 8 times.
Jesus Christ.
I'm like,
And that's here's the thing with that is I think when people are given those kinds of assignments that should be fun and exploratory, what do? They turn around and just pick whatever they're listening to at the moment.
Yeah.
And just,
Well, it's hard, especially if you don't have like, you're a sophomore or whatever in high school. You don't have as wide of a net maybe as you should.
Boo-hoo.
I know, I'm just saying.
I'm sure I fell into the same exact category, right? But still, like, damn.
Well, I find it's hard for me because, like I said, all I liked was like Zeppelin and Rush, and like it's like, oh man, if only I could use like a soundtrack thing for this moment. But that doesn't count because it doesn't have lyrics. God damn it.
I think sophomore year of high school is tailor-made for being obsessed with Led Zeppelin because that's where I was
if you're into that scene or obsessed with Green Day. Apparently,
right, yeah.
Depending on what your scene is.
Yeah.
But at least thankfully, I never slipped into the 70s were so much better, man.
Oh, yeah.
Modern day music sucks. I thankfully just sort of, I never liked pop music, but I never made the claim that it was better or like, that like music was somehow better. And now, like, it's all music's only going downhill or something like that.
I mean, I can honestly say though, in retrospect, the aughts, music in the aughts, kind of fucking sucks.
Oh no, they're terrible. No, it's awful.
And
not about like
music. Even in the tens now, music is like I like it. There's a lot more going on. Like
in terms of pop music, of course.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think the music landscape in the tens is a lot different too, because we're so immersed into this thing now where pop doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's maybe better.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It was funny because my girlfriend the other week was talking about how she was doing something, was put on a random early 2000s or playlist on Spotify, and she's like, "What a nightmare!" I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right? Remember
a hellscape of emo bands and like maybe the last breaths of nu metal
and the last breaths of like boy bands and Britney Spears pop and that kind of stuff." Although I will submit that "Toxic" is okay.
What is
the
that?
song "Toxic"? Britney Spears "Toxic." That's an okay song.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't know what that is.
That's the only Britney Spears song that
I know. Womanizer. She says that word "womanizer" like 30 times in the song.
That one song I just mentioned, or a different the song "Womanizer"? I don't know what that song is.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's I don't know.
No, I don't know. maybe I don't know. Maybe nobody knows. Maybe it's a song
nobody
that doesn't
knows.
exist.
Britney Spears didn't even happen. It's all in our brains. But yeah, the aughts was a weird time.
Even the 90s wasn't that good, man.
Dude, the 90s, come on, man.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of, well, it depends.
Late 90s sucked. Late 90s, but early 90s when you could just like put on your flannel and
well, I'm not talking about grunge, I guess.
Put on, play your depressing ass music. It was.
I'm talking pound for pound.
Pound for pound.
I'm talking like the radio hits, I guess, because you got grunge and all this stuff, but like radio hits, like 90s weren't that great. What do you got, like Sheryl Crow?
Once we hit 93, or like 94, that's when it sucked.
You got scary things. At least the Foo Fighters were, 97. You got Color in the Shape.
Well,
that's a great album.
Sure. I mean, yeah, there's always exceptions. I'm just saying,
in terms of the rock scene.
Things changed. Yeah. Generally speaking, things like when you look at a decade that had like the biggest change between like the early decade and the late decade, man, the 90s.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Even in terms of like everything almost.
Yeah. Movies, music, fashion.
Mm-hmm.
Fashion was like early 90s is like neon orange parachute pants. And then late 90s is like, hey, wear all black and like don't smile.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so where are we at?
I think you're on you. If we're not, I already did 3. So
I was just gonna say, hey, everybody, see the Seven Samurai, because basically it set an archetype for a lot of films that you may love.
It's considered the first action movie, according to some historians I've read. But like, I'd say that's true.
Specifically, that whole plot, that type of plot where it's like, hey, we're assembling a ragtag team.
Yeah.
Magnificent Seven, A Bug's Life,
remake,
A Bug's Life, which a lot of people don't think of.
It was fun. No, I think I actually I did my presentation, it's like Seven Samurai is like A Bug's Life, and my teacher's like, "Oh, shut up." He's a great teacher.
Mystery Men. That was a very fucked up, weird late 90s.
Ocean's 11.
Gonna
need 11 guys.
Yeah, we're gonna need 11 guys.
Gonna need 11 guys.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I would. I'm not gonna say there's only. I can't think. Just watch all Kubrick's, all Kurosawa's movies. Yojimbo, Sanduro, The Bad Sleep Well.
I haven't seen all
High
his
and Low,
movies.
Throne of Blood, Kagemusha, Ron.
I've seen Yojimbo though.
Ron's
that
amazing. Was good. What else? Ikiru. What was it? Stray Dog. All classic. All great movies. Dreams is okay. Dreams is a little weird. Wouldn't recommend Dreams.
Is that like what, his later work or something?
It's in the 90s, but it's a collection of short stories based on dreams he had. But it's just it's just kind of weird. It's just sort of like not gripping. Dursu Uzawa's good. That's a Russian co-production he made.
Huh. Wow. So he was making stuff in the 90s.
Yeah.
Wow. It's crazy.
I mean, like 88, 89 was Ron, which is one of his masterpieces, which is a remake of King Lear, one of his best movies. He was going blind at the time, but it's explosively colorful and has one of the best sequences, if not the best sequence ever committed to film, where these two brightly colored armies assault this castle, and the castle is literally like a full-size castle that they burn down in the movie, and they have Tetsuya Nakadai, is that his name, in the tower, and he actually has to walk out of this burning building, and it's all captured on film, and it's fucking amazing. And some of the scenes, and it's also inspired Saving Private Ryan. There's a part where the guy is like looking for his lost arm, and then Saving Private Ryan did a callback to that, where that guy's looking for his arm.
Yeah.
So like stuff like that.
I miss movies where people had to do these
To look for their arms.
dangerous ass stunts.
I'd say
Like even like Peter Sellers, man. Oh, well, sorry. Go ahead.
It's probably better that people don't have to do dangerous shit. But.
I mean, yeah, but like, damn, dude, I was watching like a Pink Panther. It was just like on in like Republic of Pie or something, and it's like him trying to get past. It was like him trying to get over a moat, and he just kept failing. You know what I'm talking about?
The Pink Panther Strikes Again.
And it's like, God damn it! I wish like we had.
Tom Cruise does that.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get over that moat.
Right. Yeah.
No, but that's actually another movie. The Pink Panther series is another movie that my friend's dad would just show us, and it's like, what the? Oh my god, these are fucking great.
Yeah.
And then I incepted my sister with them. Now she loves those movies.
I watched those as a kid with my dad.
One of my favorite bits of physical comedy in those movies ever is where Peter Sellers is on the parallel bars and he's doing his little routine. That he dismounts onto a stairwell and falls down it. Oh, it makes me laugh just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's you got another movie there?
Yeah, I think maybe we just have time for one
rush.
last one here.
People want there ain't no time limit on this.
Well, I suppose not.
Just we don't need to go out all 10, but just no pressure, no rush.
So I'm gonna go with my very first Wes Anderson movie. Because I feel like I saw this without knowing who Wes Anderson was. I just saw this as, oh, hey, this is a movie and it looks good. And, any entry into Wes Anderson is like, oh, dude, like, check out this intrusive way of directing. And I mean that in a way that's like, oh, hey, a director is actually characteristically setting up a movie to be this director's movie. Like, you're going into this movie knowing like this is the director that made this movie. They set it up to be their style. It's very intrusive, the way they frame everything, the way they edit everything, the storytelling. And that was Royal Tenenbaums, which seems to be everybody's not favorite Wes Anderson movie.
There's two Wes Anderson movies I haven't seen. That's one of them.
It's crazy. Whenever I have any conversation about the Royal Tenenbaums, everybody's like, nah. And I'm like, God damn it. Like, it should have been Gene Hackman's last movie. It's like honorably Gene Hackman's last movie. But it exposed me to like, okay, more like intrusive directing, right? And then also just like the idea of having an ensemble cast and what it means for every character to be really their own unique character, which I think Wes Anderson does really well. Just he knows characters like almost like nobody else does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, really, any of his movies are a great example of like, again, stuff you could study.
Yeah. I find Wes Anderson to be like split into two periods. Well, first of all, I remember I didn't see a Wes Anderson movie until well into college. My freshman year roommate was like really into it. I think he even had a Darjeeling Limited poster on his wall.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember what my first Wes Anderson movie was. But I liked his style, but it wasn't really until, and I feel like there's a split. He has every movie, his early career, and then Fantastic Mr. Fox onward. Because it seems like with Fantastic Mr. Fox onward, his style of filmmaking is a little bit different. It's like, it's far more like cartoony, if you will, like stylized.
Yeah.
Like before that, you have movies which are stylized, but they're still kind of sort of grounded in some kind of reality. It feels like they have like cartoon sharks and they have like, wacky characters and this classic way of doing the cameras and stuff and this dialogue and thing. But like it seems like after that, like it just gets a little more. Maybe it's the color palette or something. It just becomes different. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it, but I've liked all of his movies past Fantastic Mr. Fox a lot, and I really enjoyed. Before then, I enjoyed Darjeeling Limited, and I enjoyed. I enjoyed all of his movies. I liked Life Aquatic more than the others, but even though that's the less popular opinion, I guess.
Oh, people. I mean, as far as I know, Life Aquatic is sort of revered as one of his better movies.
I think it's like there's a sense of like dysfunction in them between the people involved, and like in the later movies, there's less of that. There's more. I have no idea. I can't put my finger on what's different about him, but it's I just like him better. You know, there's something weird.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I mean, okay, so I sort of know what you're saying. I feel like, yeah, if we were to split Wes Anderson movies in half, yeah, the split would be right after Darjeeling Limited, right? And then you would go into like what feels more like his more modern way of his more modern style of his own directing, I guess, would start around Fantastic Mr. Fox. I mean, I don't know if I've ever looked at it that way specifically. But it is, I don't know. The interesting thing about Wes Anderson is like, and I think this is a great sign. This is a sign of a great director, right? Is when you can have his whole filmography and you can have people arguing over which one's the best movie or whatever, right? And it seems like everybody has their own pick. A lot of people love Moonrise Kingdom.
That movie's incredible. I might say that would be my favorite.
I didn't care for it that much. It's like lower on the list for me. I thought it was like fine. I thought it was fine, but for me, it was like I don't know. Like I look at like Grand Budapest Hotel, and I'm like, God damn, that's probably like his best. But then there's a lot of people that are like, nah.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. Of course, Isle of Dogs, I fucking love. I between Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox, I think Isle of Dogs is probably my favorite.
I like Fantastic Mr. Fox better.
See, that's interesting, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of opinion, really.
Well, because then it just feels much more subjective when it's like a split than... It's a sign that both movies are really great. Yeah, people can disagree over it, right?
That's it's nice to have a trilogy of movies or a series of movies or things that are linked that you can never really say which one's the best. Like the original Star Wars trilogy, it's like which one's the best, and like most people might say Empire, but you can make strong cases for any of them. Like which Lord of the Rings is the best, you can make a strong case for any of them. Which Kubrick movie, which Scorsese movie, etc., etc.
With Lord of the Rings, I feel most people say either the first or the third.
I've heard a lot of people say the second one, though.
Really? So a lot of people say Two Towers?
It's not uncommon, I'd say. I've seen the whole spread of opinions.
Interesting.
Well, anyways, I guess I'll do one more. Do you want to do one more?
Sure.
So one more. This one I'll have to keep it short. The last movie I can think of off the top of my head, and the only reason this movie really encapsulated sort of my feeling at the time and like what it felt like to be me, and kind of like it's hard to explain. But I thought it really resonated with me, people, and so I ended up watching that movie pretty much 10 times in the course of a year, and that was Scott Pilgrim vs. the World.
Oh,
I think that's the last non-Star Wars movie that really resonated with me in a way that I had to keep watching it over and over and over again. But of course, I was a college student, so I had the luxury of doing that. It's weird,
Yeah.
And that movie, I haven't watched it recently. Still really good, but it is of an early 20-something kind of feel.
So how did it influence you?
Influence, huh? I guess I like the style of humor. Like, Edgar Wright's great. I love watching that stuff. I got to meet him because of that movie.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, also, I also think that's probably my favorite of Edgar Wright's movies.
Hot Fuzz is really hard to say.
Hot Fuzz is amazing. I mean, I haven't seen a movie of his that I don't like, but Scott Pilgrim, I thought that was just... It was a tragedy that it didn't do well.
Yeah.
Because it was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
And people have to be crazy not to like it. Like I
can see why. It's because, Scott Pilgrim as a character is kind of a jerk. He's kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
He's much worse in the comics. But in the comics also gives him more time to sort of breathe also. But like in like the last book takes his time to sort of spell everything out a little better. And Ramona's really not really likable in the movie compared to the books because it also doesn't give her much time to breathe comparatively. So I can see why people wouldn't like it, but I don't know. I just thought like it's aesthetic and sort of like, you know, me being a 20-something, early 20-something nerd who loves video games and music and stuff.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't like, you know, wasn't in a band, didn't play shows, or didn't live in Canada or whatever, it just kind of felt like, oh, this movie's like what it's like to be me, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And kind of, sort of, but not really, but still, like I can resonate with everything that's going on.
Right, yeah.
And like nowadays, as a late 20-something, it's like, well, I don't really feel that way anymore. But goddamn, I like this movie still.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's a great movie.
You know, it's not a movie I could watch 10 times in a year anymore. It's a movie I could watch once every few years. Maybe it's just me getting older. Mike, are you before? Well, I guess do you have one more? If not, I'll ask
I do.
You. Okay, well, we'll do one more, and then I'll wrap it off with one last question, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Just because we don't have that much time, I guess. If you want it to be the whole time you want everything.
Yeah, we should probably. I mean, we could continue this in the next episode.
Yeah, we could.
We both said, or you just said your sixth one.
Well, I mean, are we including my chunk that I did?
No.
Okay.
So you just.
So
did
I'm
your
kind of on
sixth
9
one.
if we are technically counting it, but whatever.
So I'll do my sixth one,
Mm-mm.
and that would be Taxi Driver.
Oh yeah, speaking of Scorsese.
Now the reason why this is like my favorite movie ever.
Oh right.
Is because. Which is weird because it's also the favorite movie of that one guy that like tried to kill Reagan or something. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
right?
to impress Jodie Foster.
Yeah, so that always makes it kind of creepy. But
just like Buffalo Bill.
like when you hear about the 70s film renaissance and sort of how like movies changed in the 70s with all these new directors coming in and all these new actors coming in and like and changing the face of cinema, right? I feel like if there was one movie to show someone to embody what that meant, it was Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver is a great example. It's well, there's like, you know, there's also The Godfather and that kind of stuff. But Taxi Driver for just sort of, I think Taxi Driver is a better embodiment of the Hollywood Renaissance.
Right, because it's not about anything glamorous. It's not about. I mean, like Godfather, right? I'd say has similarities, but it's still like a very specialized, like, hey, this is the family business. These are mobsters. Like, this is some high profile shit. Like with Taxi Driver, it's literally this dude that just, like, it's this feeling that I think a lot of people can empathize with, where it's like, you know, I'm a taxi driver, and like life is kind of ugly, and like. You know, there's a lot wrong with the world, and you know, no one really knows how to deal with it, and it's just you know, chronicles of this dude's experiences within an inner city setting, and like, you know, the sets are dirty, and the language is foul, and like our hero's kind of like a weird, not so great person, but then like he does his version of what he thinks is a great thing to do at the end of the movie, but it's also really flawed. Like, I don't know. It's just, there's a lot of like subtext and like a lot of, it's like the antithesis of like golden age Hollywood film. Yeah.
Well, it's a really representative of the sort of the zeitgeist of the time, especially among these young directors of like, man, the system is broken. You know, I'm like angry at it, and I'm angry, like, you know, like the main character is coming back from Vietnam. He's angry. All he sees is all this scum, you know, on the streets, and these politicians and stuff. And he's like, I'm going to change the system, and the only way I know how, which is violence.
Right.
And like you said, ironically, he can't, you know, you can't assassinate the senator or this, you know, what he was running for office.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I'll just do the next best thing. Well, I'll just go to this pimp and shoot a bunch of people, and then he's Laura as a hero.
Pimp. Yeah.
Which is, you know, it's really funny. Did you know? I mean, you might know this, that Paul Schrader wrote that movie in like 4 days, 3 days maybe. Which I assume is also a coke binge.
Well, I would assume that too.
Yeah, like that movie was written like instantly, just like. I don't even know if he did another draft. That may be the first draft also.
Jeez.
which also shows that Paul Schrader's a genius. You know what movie Paul Schrader recently did?
What?
First Reformed, directed by him.
Oh, wow.
So, writer, taxi driver, now director.
That was have you seen that?
Written, directed. No, I missed it, unfortunately. I really wanted to see it, though.
I'm glad I saw it, but man, it was a strange movie. It's a very strange movie. But I guess it follows kind of the same feeling of Taxi Driver, of just this fucking protagonist that is just losing it, basically.
And I think it's Paul Schrader also. I always forget if that's the guy's name or if it's something else, because there's also the star of Jaws, whose name I can't remember too, and they're both kind of similar. So if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Oh,
gotcha. Okay. Well, hey, everybody, you can leave those comments in our comments section if you know that.
If I'm wrong, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were you saying, though? Last thing?
Oh, just... yeah, and then also, it's a real tragedy because you look at Robert De Niro then, and like, goddamn, this kid can act, right? And then you look at Robert De Niro now, and it's like, oh... He's going
to be in that Scorsese movie, though.
That I've been hearing about for like 2 years now.
Yeah, well, we'll
see. Hey, I hope it finally comes out.
I hope it does in theaters.
Yeah.
Hope it comes out in theaters. Anyways, the last question I want to ask, and we can continue more impactful movies next time if you want, but the question I want to cap this little episode off to, in case we don't, in case it's like explosive news or we see like 1,000 movies or whatever, is have you seen a movie since like 2010 that has had a significant impact on you, or do you think in your adult age, having now seen every type of movie there is, that you can't see a movie that's fresh and original as stuff you've seen in like high school and things? And have you been blown away? Like, I've been blown away by movies before, but have you been like totally and utterly blown away in the sense that like all these movies you just mentioned since you left college, I guess?
Oh, since I left college.
2010 was just sort of a base mark. I don't know. Like, since you left college, I guess.
Why don't we go with 2010?
Yeah.
Just so we're both like on the same.
Or 2012 maybe.
Okay.
That's when I graduated.
Well, first of all, I would say like the older someone gets and the more life experience they have, it is, I think, harder to impress somebody with anything, right?
Well, like I was saying, like a lot of the movies we saw had big impacts. So it was the first type of that movie we saw.
Right.
But, you grow up, eventually you watch all kinds of movies, and the amount of movies that are, you see, like you get all the tricks, all the tricks, all the things.
Right.
It's a lot harder to sort of do stuff you see things that are like original. You see something like Sorry to Bother You, where it's like, wow, how fresh and original, and a different way of making a movie, like a different look to a movie and stuff like that, right? But like it's still within the playbook of movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, so you understand what the playbook of movies looks like. So it's a lot harder to be like blown away by something, because you know how that movies can be nonlinear, or they can play with color, or they can play with sight and sound. They can do all this stuff, and it's like, it's even though it is fresh, it's never as fresh as you would hope it to be because you're old
right.
now.
And then also, I mean, and that's a very good point. So I'd say that there is that. I mean, the more knowledge you have about something, I think the less impressive, new installments of that medium will be. And then also age, really, the more life experience you get, and I guess that falls in that too. The more knowledge you get of something, the less impressed you'll be. And then also, I think it's harder to gauge things that are more recent because, as we go forward in time and as these things, recede farther back into history, it sort of filters out what stands the test of time and what doesn't, right? Mm-hmm. But with that said...
Well, I'm mostly talking personal, though. Like, staying the test of time is a personal thing. You can see a movie no one else has seen.
Well, that's what I mean. But I think it takes a while to contextualize something in terms of, like, how much of an impact it has.
Yeah, it's true. You can't... It's like this little thing might have, has huge impact, historical impact, but only 20 years later do you see that.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
There's two movies I can name right off the bat, and this is, of course, just spitballing, but... Mad Max Fury Road.
That's what I'm thinking of.
For sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, damn, like, that just sort of came out of nowhere and was like just... I mean, it permeated our pop culture for a while.
Did it, though? I mean, like, it didn't... Like, Mad Max, the style had already existed, and, like, it didn't make enough money to really change the way movies are made, though.
Well...
Like it had a lot of like really it had a big following, yeah, but like it didn't change anything.
No, I mean, yeah, we didn't see a lot of like copycat movies.
Like
coming
that movie
out
came out in
after
2015, so like even in the 3 years, I haven't seen anything like in the post Dark Knight world. Like not immediately, but like by 2011 or so, you were seeing the ripples of that, of like the dark take on stuff.
Yeah,
and like 2012 is famous for villains getting captured on purpose and that kind of stuff. You had this big wave of things, and nothing has really tried to do what Mad Max did, because Mad Max
did it better.
It needed a genius to pull off. Was risky because you're working with real cars in the fucking desert, and didn't make enough money to justify doing any of that stuff to the big studios.
Right.
I think, unfortunately, which sucks.
Yeah.
But.
I mean, yeah, no, I agree with you. It was sort of like I guess lightning in a bottle, I suppose. I mean, like it just it was like a one and done thing, and like, but it's not that. I imagine if you were to ask people nowadays, like, hey, Mad Max Fury Road, what do you think? They'd still say like, "Oh shit, that was amazing!" Right?
I think it's as close to a perfect action movie as you're gonna get.
Right. And then honestly, I mean, I know it's gonna take a little bit more time for people to really contextualize this, but I would definitely say Infinity War. And that's the thing. I mean, I don't think a lot of people have really contextualized it yet, but. Like, if you were to go 10 years into the future and sort of think about, like what Infinity War did, and that's basically take 10 years and, 19 movies before it and sort of bring it all into this big thing. I mean, at least to me, I think, the whole, tapestry of the MCU and the whole, complex system they had set up and the timing of it all and all that. I mean, that to me is really impressive.
I think it is true. Yes. I mean, I think the first Avengers probably holds more of a spot than this newest one, because the first Avengers did that first, and the new one just does it bigger.
That's true.
But I would say that what really depends, and we'll see the thing that you're saying happens in 10 years from now. If the Avengers 4 falls flat on its face, it's going to suck the air out of Infinity War, and it's going to drag it down with it.
Totally. Yeah, I'm worried about that too. But
not a lot, but it has the potential, Because there's there's lots of times where there's a movie that's like, oh man, what a great sequel, that sets up a movie that's never going to deliver it, and it kind of for example, this is a weak example, but The Matrix Reloaded, it's fine. It's got problems, but it's fine. But because it's paired with The Matrix Revolutions, both those movies are dragged down together.
Right. Yeah.
So it has the potential to be that, and the Avengers Infinity War 2 or whatever it's gonna be called, it has to be a big disappointment in order for that to happen. But it's possible, because it's possible for any movie to be bad. It's possible for any movie to be good. It's a waste of time theorizing on the internet. So stop doing it, everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fun to speculate, but
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I always try to avoid this movie's gonna be great / this movie's gonna suck. I mean, again, just bad trailers, but whatever. Speaking of which, the new Predator trailer looks really cool. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't think it's gonna blow me away. Speaking of which,
I hope so.
But at least I hopefully we'll finally get that fun Predator movie again.
That would be nice. But yeah, so I think.
So with you, what do you think?
I was thinking about it, the last movie, I don't know if it had a big impact on me as a movie goer, but the last movie to have a significant, to blow me away, like Mad Max, I guess, and The Force Awakens, I saw 6 times in theaters and 10 times, but that's a Star Wars movie, it doesn't count. Was Boyhood. That was a movie I had to, after the theater, I had to sit in my car for 15 minutes because I was just too taken with it, That movie, that's also, I guess that counts as a movie that's something I hadn't seen before. But also, I think that even if the movie didn't do the whole filming over time thing and was just a straight sort of, we're changing actors and stuff, it's still a really powerful movie, I think. Mm-hmm. And I think people, I've said before, I think people who only view it as a gimmick are missing the point of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
or they don't really understand why. I talk to people who don't like it, and they're like, it's just some guy in high school. I've been in high school. That's stupid. And it's that's not what the movie's really about. It's about growing up, but it's about so much more than that. And I don't want to go into it because we're at 1 hour and 40 minutes.
Boyhood was great. Yeah. I
So
liked it too.
yeah, but so that's the last thing I could think of. But yeah, I was like, I'm not saying if it has cynicism that as you get older, like movies aren't impressive anymore or nothing. Well, it is,
No.
you do have like the first 20-ish years of your life to really, those are the times that you have to see the movies that are really going to shape who you are. Or
Totally.
Or unless you just avoid movies entirely,
Well,
and then you see them later.
That would be a shame. Yeah.
And then you see them later, and then they can have the same impact. But it's harder because then your brain's already kind of formed.
Yeah.
Stuff less impressionable.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, but like that's one of the things when people complain about. I always think when people complain about movies not having the same feeling anymore, like it's like, oh man, this sequel didn't feel like the other ones. Like it doesn't like give me like the goosebumps like I did when I was a kid. It's like I don't think any movie can do that anymore. Like it sucks, but you have to realize, I think that. You're not going to get that way naturally. You have to sort of embrace that, and like you have to make yourself feel like that. But no movie can. You have to come to it. It can't come to you. That's not like it's kind of like it's sort of It's happened. It's past. You're an adult. It sucks, but that's
right.
All it is.
People don't want to recognize that in themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which makes things very trolly. So many trolls. Yeah.
So that's let's say it's like if you want a movie to feel special, you have to let it feel special, It's hard to say. You can't, a movie, it's hard to say. It's hard. I can't describe any way to do it. But.
If there's one thing I really hope I'm not turning into, it's the aging cynic. Because I feel like that's what it is. It's we're approaching that age now where it's like we've become we have the potential now to become these aging cynics because we're, everything was so much greater when we were kids, everything was so much greater when we were younger. And it's like, it's important to recognize that, hey, for the 12-year-old out there that's watching Force Awakens or whatever, right? It's like, that's like hot shit for them. That's like the great stuff right there for them, right?
I feel very thankful that like in college, I don't know why, but like about halfway through college, I made the conscious choice to reject nostalgia.
Yeah.
To sort of be like, I realized like nostalgia is dangerous.
It is.
And
totally is.
Like I should never think something is good because I liked it in the past. Like that was like I don't know if it was I guess you could call it a choice I made, but like that's sort of one of my personal philosophies is this, I don't believe in nostalgia. Like I think I play games or something. Like I'll play I haven't played through all the Halos again. It's like, oh, it reminds me of a kid and stuff. But I'm not gonna say that makes it good. It's and I'm sure I fall into that trap too because it's hard because nostalgia is like hardwired into your brain and all that fun stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like, oh, look, all these idiots with their nostalgia or whatever. But I don't know. I think it's important to sort of view things objectively or as objective as you can. I don't even know what I'm trying to say.
And with that, we're at hour 40 something. We're gonna.
It's not our longest episode, but it's there.
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up.
But 2 years, we deserve it. We're treating ourselves. It's Treat Yourself Day, as far as I'm concerned. What day is it? It's Treat Yourself Day.
That's right.
And if you want to treat yourself to some fun comments or whatever the fuck stuff, we're at filmtestedvoyage.com, filmtestedvoyage@gmail.com, on facebook.com/filmtestedvoyage. We got a YouTube page now. You don't have to like and subscribe. I'm not going to beg you for anything.
Please like and describe.
Slap that like button. I never like people that do that, and I want to become one of those people.
Yeah, turn on notifications so that way whenever we do something. Anyways.
I mean, like, ironically, I guess I'm doing it because I'm bringing it up. But whatever, I'm not telling you what to do. Yeah. And then, if you want to follow us on Letterboxd, you don't have to, but if you wanna, I'm Batman Crothers.
I'm Mr. Kerosene. Yeah, we don't need you. We don't need you following us on Letterboxd.
You can do it. Just do whatever you want, but you don't have to. Don't worry about it.
Listen, I don't want you following us on Letterboxd.
Oh, look at this. He's being tricky.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. We're a part of a bigger podcast network, the Let Me Listen Podcast Network. It's on SoundCloud. You can listen to all the Let Me Listen podcasts on there, including us and a bunch of others. So go on there. Go on iTunes, SoundCloud, Let Me Listen podcast. Leave some comments. Leave some ratings. Tell your friends about us.
Weird.
Listen, happy 200 episodes. I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yep, we did it. 200 whole episode. No, wait, that 2 years. You're confusing me.
That's right.
It's 104 episodes. 2 years worth of episodes.
104 episodes, 2 years.
104 weeks of entertainment. Emphasis on week with the A instead of the E.